Well, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. I want us to get straight into our discussion this morning, like I mentioned, and I'll start from my extreme right. Thank you very much for coming, Raphael Tuju, who's the head of the Jubilee Secretariat and also the Secretary General. Thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. We also have Fred Ouda, who's the Kisumu Central Member of Parliament. Thank you also for your time.
Amazing.
All right, I want to start with you, Fred, and I'll start by something that Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday in the campaigns, and he asked a very fundamental question. Why are we seeing all this protests? Today, NASA is going to be holding a rally in Meru, yet the NASA leader withdrew from the race. Shouldn't he just back off and let the process continue?
Thank you, Betty. I want to say, first of all, I want to say sorry to my people. Police melted a lot of brutality on them. I should start by saying I'm very, very sorry for the Jubilee administration is doing to our people and our supporters who are going out there on the streets to fight for what they believe is right. Now, President Kenyatta, to me sometimes, is out of touch with the reality. Because, one, we must all agree that we are where we are today as a country because back in those early days, the days of Akina James Orengo, then the days of Akina Paul Muite and Raila Odinga, they all, and Akina Martin Shikuku, they all went to the street to fight for what is just. And that is what has brought us to where we are as a country, including me and my friend Raphael Tuju. Some of us will have rotten somewhere else, but they have fought for this space on the streets. Now, Raila Odinga wrote a letter that he is not going to participate in an illegal process. And because we are out there demanding some things to be done, the irreducible minimum. And if these people cannot fix these things, that's why we said that instead of going ahead to participate in an election that is already rigged, the way things look like, we just decided to withdraw. Not to run. Okay, we are not running for that.
Completely. We will not see a ton of events.
We don't even want Raila's name on the ballot. We will not be on the 26th election. But there must be a credible election in this country.
For whoever is going to participate.
Not for whoever is going to participate. We are saying there should not be any election come 26th completely because we believe the process as it is now, it stands illegal.
So what you're pushing for is these are reforms for posterity. It's not really for the current situation right now.
We are pushing...
It's for moving forward in the country.
We are pushing for these reforms that IEBC must reform because 8th August, we won the election. According to all facts on the table, we won the election. Now, these guys want us to come and legitimize a process on 26th of October, a day they chose by themselves, and put everything in place for themselves. Then they want us to participate. That's what we are saying. We will continue fighting out there until they do the correct thing and call for fresh presidential nomination and do a proper election.
All right. Yeah. Can I get your reaction to that?
Well, I mean... sometimes you sympathize with the NASA situation. Sometimes it's difficult to argue with it because they have their own set of reality, which is outside our reality. As my son, I can be his uncle actually, say that they won the elections. I mean, nothing, you can, when somebody says that, you really can't argue with them. But I think I only want to ask Kenyans to consider the following questions. Does President Uhuru Kenyatta and Jubilee have powers to postpone the elections beyond 1st of November? Does Parliament have powers to postpone the elections? The answer is no in both cases. Does the Supreme Court have powers to postpone the elections beyond 1st of November? The fact of the matter is that the Supreme Court does not. Does the IBC have powers to postpone these elections beyond 1st of November? The answer is no. In their universe, they seem to think that Raila has powers to postpone the elections by precipitating a crisis on the streets of Nairobi. That is their universe, and you really can't help them.
That's all. That's your universe. All these people, the Supreme Court, nobody really. There is a constitutional timeline. So,
Betty,
you're asking for a fresh election, straight from the fresh nominations, right after the November 1st date.
Presidential. And let me tell you, Betty, my friend Raf, who now says is my uncle, there's one thing he's assuming. What you've been dealing with now is actually a political crisis. We have been in this situation before. We were here 2007. We were here a few months ago when we agreed on the electronic system and all these things. You remember the joint team led by Orengo and Kiraitu.
But this is a totally, completely different situation.
I know. But you see, Betty, what we are saying, yes, somebody else in IEBC will be willing to do the correct thing. But you all know that there are some elements at the IEBC who are hell-bound to make sure that Jubilee remains in power. That's why we are saying, yes, 26 is there. But as it is now, Raila Odinga withdrew from the race before the ruling of the Kuro Court. At that time, the only two in the ballot. It was only Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. And when Raila withdrew, then what Chebukati and his team could have done was very simple. Call off the election for 26 and say there's no election because one candidate has already withdrawn.
No, but the Raila Odinga withdrew a day before Ekuru Court had his success in the High Court. So that means that, do you think you're caught flat-footed? Because then it would mean that Uhuru Kenyatta and Ekuru Court then would be on the ballot because Raila Odinga had withdrawn.
As you put it, it was a day before. Yeah, so we had a few minutes, a few hours. We've seen things happen within minutes. These people could have just called off the election. That's the thing. That's what we are saying.
Then what happens to the constitutional
and the issue of Okuro Court as it is now, we have not finished it. Already we have an appeal. We have an appeal, the Court of Appeal, right now.
With 8 days to the election.
Yeah, and they should wait for that ruling.
All right, Raphael, how do you think this country should move forward with regards to getting a solution to this political crisis like he mentioned? Is there a possibility of dialogue? Because that's one of the issues that we've heard from a number of leaders from NASA.
Whatever dialogue you want to have, you should have it within the framework of the Constitution. The whole point of having a Constitution is that you have a point of reference. You have beacons within which you have to operate. If we decide to go outside any kind of discussion, outside the parameters of the Constitution, then there will be absolutely no reason to obey the Constitution in future, because it will mean that it's something that you can always change and always negotiate. Just as I said, even Parliament today cannot change that date. The President cannot change that date. The Supreme Court or any other court, Court of Appeal, Justice Mativo, he cannot change those dates. It is written in the Constitution. The only way is to change the Constitution, therefore. And the process of changing the Constitution, we defined it in the Constitution that we all supposedly read in 2010 before we passed it. So, we can't be in a situation that people cherry pick the aspects of the Constitution, the aspects of law that they want to obey. The Supreme Court, when they said that there should be elections within the next 60 days and they directed the IBC, they knew that the IBC had faltered, had committed illegalities and irregularities, but they never directed anybody else to conduct this election except the IBC. If anybody has got any issues with the IBC, then they should canvass them through the court process, which is the legal way, but not to go to the streets to intimidate others, to stone people, to rob people. Quite honestly, when I see what happened in my hometown, I don't think IBC resides in the supermarkets.
Of course, they don't reside in the supermarkets, but these are protests that are called. And the thing is, there's a question that has been on many Kenyans' minds, really. IEBC could have been the sole reason, actually probably is the sole reason why this election of Uhuru Kenyatta re-election was nullified. Why is it seemingly that Jubilee is still comfortable with the status of IEBC as is?
No, I'd like to explain that because that keeps on coming up. Whether we like the IBC or we don't like the IBC, the Constitution has to be followed. The difference between NASA and Jubilee, and specifically President Uhuru Kenyatta, is that of all these people, he is the only one who has taken an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution. To protect and defend the Constitution. He has taken an oath of office in full view of Kenyans and the world. So he's not going to tinker with that Constitution. He may not like people in the IBC, and I think you've heard several times Jubilee, even make some of our Jubilee supporters make some very snide remarks about individuals at the IBC. But we have to live with them. Now, the truth of the matter is that there was also an Isaac Hassan IBC, which was removed because NASA did not like them. They were not comfortable with them. There was an ECK, which was removed because NASA did not like them. If they don't want this IBC, they can also remove them, but follow the Constitution and the law.
All right.
The moment we go out of that, we are going down a very slippery road. And it is incumbent on the presidency, on the government of the day, to safeguard our institutions, whether we like them or not. The moment you remove them, and I can tell Kenyans, just remind them, there used to be a President Siad Barre. They destroyed the institution of parliament and the presidency in Somalia. Until today, if I ask you now who is the president of Somalia, I'm sure you don't know.
Farmajo.
But
Yeah.
let me allude to a few things Raf is saying here. Now, one, Raf is saying that they are also uncomfortable with some individuals in the at the IBC.
Yes.
Let me tell you, that is fiction. That is just propaganda, bringing propaganda in confusion. When you collected evidence and went to court, and the ruling was made based on our evidence, every single evidence that we gave out there was actually was against us, but it was for them, because that's why they kept talking of the numbers in the Supreme Court. They kept saying numbers, because they knew how they got the numbers. You know, with Jubilee administration, led by my friend, led by Tuju here, and his boss, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, they don't care about the process. They don't even, actually, these are the guys who say the end justifies the means. Then they don't care how they arrived there. Now, he's saying that they cannot destroy or they cannot tamper with a few things in the Constitution. As you're talking now, these guys, just through their computer-generated leaders in Parliament, they just brought a bill from nowhere. I don't know from whose kitchen. Because every bill touching on matters to do with law must be brought through the Legal Affairs Committee. As it is now, all the committees are not properly constituted in the House, where I sit. So I'm asking myself, why did this law
Because
pass?
NASA has chosen to keep off?
No, we have not chosen to keep off, first of all. Even the Jubilee administration, even the Jubilee Brigade, where Tuju is a member, they have not constituted their I have my friends in Parliament. The committees are not properly, and mark my word, properly constituted. It could have gone through a committee of legal affairs before it gets itself in the House. But it just came from nowhere. It's in the House. And sometimes I blame the House leadership because they just bring things, they don't even observe rules and procedures and pass it. Then you ask yourself, if these guys, their intention is good, why will they then start changing laws now to weaken IBC and to weaken Supreme Court?
I want to ask you a question. With this political and constitutional crisis that maybe we're looking at ahead, what is the best ideal situation that NASA is looking at moving forward? October 26th comes, which is about maybe 8 days away, and then it passes. Then what next? What are we looking at?
As you heard yesterday, we've got Plan A, we have got Plan C.
So what is Plan B this time round?
Of course, I can't talk so much on that because there are people mandated to say all that. But me, I'll just say a few things. Now, let me tell you, after 26th of October, which there will be no election. My friend Tujuya is lying to himself. There will be no elections on 26th, and I'm telling you the truth. And even if they go on with that sham elections, I'm telling you, another 2-3 days, as you heard, Maraga said, it comes before him again, he'll nullify it. I mean, this is a country.
All right, so let's just break it down. So let's say there's an election. and somebody wins, what happens?
Somebody wins, who wins?
Whoever, it could be any candidate. I mean, there are 8 of them, now 7.
No. You can't talk of a Kuro court and the rest being candidates. They're just there just to legitimize a process. To me, I don't take them seriously. The only serious candidate there was Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Okay, fine. Let's say Uhuru Kenyatta wins come 26th of October.
Let's say that he's illegally declared the president. If he's illegally declared the president, then I can tell you we have more options on the table, which I cannot say on a national television.
Do you think they have more options on the table? But Tuju
should be ready for that.
He should be ready.
Yeah.
Are you ready for whatever happens after October 26th?
Well, you know, at my age, we have seen a lot. And we've survived a lot. I want to assure Kenyans that the sun will rise on October 27th, 28th, and set, as usual. Whether NASA participates in the elections or not, the elections will go on. If the only other way that they have is to constitutionally change the date of 26th of October. Because as I said earlier, and I'd like to repeat it, the IBC has no powers to change the day of the elections beyond 1st of November. The Supreme Court itself has no powers. I can repeat, the Supreme Court itself has no powers to change the elections beyond 1st of November. Somehow, some people who believe they're going to Canaan think that Raila has powers to change the date of the elections. They can keep dreaming.
But surely, I mean, looking at a country, I mean, we're in a situation where the country is completely polarized. And as much as your support is 100% for Uhuru Kenyatta, you'll not ignore the other millions of Kenyans who support Raila Odinga. So what is the solution really to bring this country together even after October 26th?
Very aware of that. I'm very aware of that. The president is very aware of that. And I'd like to speak to that. Whether it's whether it is former Prime Minister Raila who becomes president, if he becomes president, he will have to bridge the polarization which is the country. Because if you become president, you still have to accept that there's still a big constituency that do not like him. Just like we have to accept that there's a big constituency that does not like Uhuru Kenyatta. But the way we are constituted in what we call a Westphalian model of modern state, there has to be elections. And as framed in the Constitution, for you to win is 50 plus 1. 50 plus 1 means that 49.99999% don't like you. But a decision has to be made by the person who is elected that that is your president. I come from Rarira constituency. I have currently a member of parliament who is my member of parliament. I treat him with respect and reverence whether I like him or not. I come from Siaya. I have a governor. I may not have voted for him, but he is my governor. He beat his opponents. There's a huge number of people who don't like him, who prefer his opponent. But the moment he has got the 50 plus 1, he's got the majority, you have to accept that majority and work with that. So it is incumbent on the president of this country, whoever that will be after 26th, whether it is Raila Odinga or President Uhuru Kenyatta, it is their responsibility to bring this country together, to establish a process of tolerance and dialogue and reaching out and embracing others who did not vote for you. Because at the end of the day, we're all Kenyans. This place belongs to all of us.
Betty, you know the Jubilee Brigade, they have one tendency. They pick one thing and they keep running with it. At the Supreme Court and before Supreme Court, they kept running with one issue of numbers. Now they have picked another thing about the 26th date. It cannot extend beyond 1st of November.
But isn't that true?
No, it might be, it is there, but now that is what they have picked. Is it true or not true? That is what they have picked. But what we are saying, Betty, yes, that was the ruling. But we are saying that the ills that were committed at IEBC were not committed by elephants or dogs or animals in some bush. There are individuals within IEBC who committed these things. And these were the people we were demanding. And one of them was the person running the show. And was in charge of logistics and everything. Ezra Chiloba. And those are the people we wanted removed from IEBC. But the Jubilee Brigade.
But why not choose the process as it is in law to actually do this?
Now look, here's a situation, Betty. You are dealing with one rogue, irrational regime that will always be there to twist you with everything you do, just because they think they hold the instruments of power. And Tuju knows that. They know when you go this round, they go that way around. That's why they keep moving us around in circles.
And that's why suffering, yeah?
And that's why we decided to withdraw from our process, because we are busy playing the ball, and these guys are busy moving the goalpost.
But you see, one question that you have not answered is, what is your solution to bring to the table? You say that you're holding your cards tightly on your chest. You have plan B and plan C.
Yeah.
But what really is a solution according to
We have a solution for that. But I've said, now at my position, I'm not even supposed to talk about that, because you have a party leadership that decides on that. Now that is not for me to say. What I'm telling Tuju is that if they go ahead with the 26th illegal election as we are concerned, or rather declares Uhuru Kenyatta the president illegally, they should be ready. We are ready to fight on, and we have options on the table.
What does that mean?
As it thinks that the sun will rise, we have seen people in this country, right from the Moi regime to Kenyatta regime and Kibaki regime. We have fought all along. We have been on the streets. We've done crazy things for this country to be where we are. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto and Tuju and likes, they should know one thing, that they are not any different. We'll keep fighting. And you just have Tuju here. Come back here and say other things that he's not saying now. But I'm telling you that after 26th, we cannot sit down and watch this country being drained or taken to drain. Now, there's something, lastly. There's something Tuju said, that you cannot take people to the streets, that Chiloba is not in the supermarkets, that Chiloba, I don't know, is where. Now, you should know, we're even doubting the police officers who are posted in Kisumu to come in and keep peace there. Because myself, I'm a member of parliament for that place. I've been in those demos before. Now, the police, the so-called police, because to me, if you ask me, Betty...
So it's not police?
And I can say on national telly, to me, if you ask me, they look like some Nairobi business community dressed in uniform. Because why else will a policeman trained in Kiganjo shoot a 2.5-year-old girl and kill a 17-year-old boy? And like yesterday, according to Matiang'i, Matiang'i said that the ban was on the CBD. Kondele and Manyata, Tuju says that is his town. That is not CBD. So I want you to ask Tuju here, or ask yourself, what were the police doing in Manyata, shooting people right in the estate, and they were not in the CBD?
All right,
the supermarkets is talking about have credible evidence that is their own so-called police officers in quotes who might
so you're saying that these people are not police officers? The
people posted in Kisumu and doing all those sorts of nonsense. I'm a leader there. I almost know all those police officers who work in Kisumu, from Cornell and Nyalenda everywhere. I know them. They're my friends. I don't think they're the ones doing this thing. The people who are doing this thing have been imported, and they're kept somewhere at a showground place. Hey, that's where they are kept. Right. They only appear when they come out to shoot and melt such unnecessary brutality on our people who have the right to picket and demonstrate.
All right. Raphael, as we wind up, we're about to do so. I'd like to hear your thoughts. First of all, on the political situation in the country, are you worried as a Kenyan? Are you worried as a leader of Jubilee Party? What next? Because that's a question that many people, if you go to the streets, people do not know what's going to be happening. Come October 26th, and you say that the sun will rise on 27th, but people are not sure. That's the truth. That a large majority of people
I like to repeat that. I like to repeat that. Yeah. The sun will rise on 27th, and after that, I have to give credit to NASA. They know how to threaten. They know how to blackmail. They know how, they're very good in showmanship, and I really can admit that we cannot beat them in that. Before the elections on the 8th, they gave us fantastic assurances that they had backup in the clouds, backup in Germany, backup in Tanzania. It all fizzled out to nothing, really. So when they keep on threatening that, wait, 26th, you'll see, is kind of football threats, that, hey, we ngoja Saturday tuwapiga, then on Saturday you go to football.
Not until they killed Msando.
Yeah,
Not until they killed Msando. We still don't know why Msando died mysteriously up to now.
Well,
that's why they can boast.
Whoever
they
you
can
mean,
boast
whoever
because
you,
they know
whoever you mean by they, that's up to you. I think that is an active case in police investigation, and I can understand that you are very, very angry. I don't think I would want to be in your position, because in a competitive process, when you lose, it angers you, and we try to be very, very soft and very diplomatic in the way we approach you and deal with you. But I want to say that politics should not be enmity. Politics should be just a competition of ideas. And I like to congratulate a young man like him. I mean, he beat the former secretary of...
back to the issues, Raphael.
He beat the former secretary of TNA.
Back to the issues.
You know, so I like to congratulate this guy. And the last time I met his opponent, he wasn't happy.
All right.
You beat him square.
Back to the issues.
You have to accept that we should not be sour losers. President Uhuru lost in 2002, and he accepted he lost. So I think when ODM NASA loses, I think they should have the humility to accept it gracefully. If they feel that they don't want to proceed with this election, because I'd like to tell you that yes. In fact, I'd like to confirm to you that they didn't lose this election in August 8th. They lost it at the end of February. At the end of February this year. That's when they lost it. Because and this time IBC was publishing the number of registered voters per county. And we had our core counties, we were already ahead. For them to win, they had to win by 80% in the remaining 17 swing counties. Let me tell you, it is mathematically impossible for NASA to win. It is mathematically impossible. So really, for them to pull out is another face-saving mechanism. It's another face.
Let me add him something.
It's a face-saving mechanism. Let me finish.
54-44.
Yeah, let me finish.
So that's the 50.
Yeah,
for them to pull out, I think it is a face-saving mechanism, and we have to respect that.
All right. We have to wrap up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, Raphael Tuju, who's the head of the Jubilee Secretariat, is also the Secretary General. I've also been speaking to Fred Ouda, who's the Kisumu Central Member of Parliament. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. All right, so we wanted to take a break here on the show. We're coming back to continue with our coverage. Remember that we have quite a number of top stories that we're focusing on. One, of course, is at the Supreme Court, as the court is supposed to rule on an application that was made by Afula Chebukati on really what his role is in the result verification process. Apart from that, we'll also be speaking to our Sophia Wanuna, who's still at the home of businessman Jimmy Wanjigi, and I hear there's a new development there. We'll be having that in the next few minutes. Let's take that break. We're coming back shortly.